telling me that I'm on the... Got it. When you're ready.
Okay. Hi everybody. It's 1:20 for those of you who've been hanging about since 1 o'clock waiting for us to come on. I can only sincerely apologise, as ever technical gremlins have got in the way of our punctuality, but nonetheless we'll do our best to keep you informed and engaged over the next little while. My name's Martin Collins. I'm the General Manager of Community Wellbeing here at Central Goldfields Shire Council, and I'm joined today by James Rigby, who is from our Community Partnerships team. And James's role, among other things, is to oversee and manage our community grants programme, which we're going to be talking about in some detail today. Before we get into that and I throw over to James, I just want to acknowledge that both James and I suspect a whole lot of people watching are all currently on Jaja country. And I want to acknowledge elders past, present and emerging. I want to acknowledge that the land we're on has never been ceded, and that through the community grants programme and a whole lot of other things that Council is doing, we're striving to be better in how we are able as an organisation to create a culturally safe and inclusive environment that enables our First Nations people to thrive and fulfil their ambitions as a hugely valued part of our community. So I think probably what I'll do is just crack on and hand over to James, who is going to be providing a kind of overview of the community grants programme. I'm going to be keeping an eye on comments as they come in, and we'll come back later on with any particular questions and comments that you guys have to throw over to James, and we'll see how he does. So I'll hand over to James. Off you go.
Thank you, Martin. I'll again, apologies for the late start. The gremlins got into the computers well and truly, and we'll just have to try and talk extra fast to try and catch up, and we'll try and finish on time, even if we didn't quite manage to start on time. I've got a PowerPoint presentation, so most of the screen is going to be the slides that I've made, and there's a couple of key messages in the presentation, and the most important message is that I'm available to talk to anyone about grants. I work on Mondays, Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Fridays, and as long as I'm not tied up in more broken computer meetings, I'd be very happy to talk to anyone and answer your emails. I see that my colleague Shabana has put my phone number and my email address into the comments already below, so there's plenty of places to find that. Now we're just going to test the technology one more time, and we're going to add, we'll move to the slide presentation, and hopefully it will come up on the screen momentarily. There we go. So I'd like to also just remember that we've just come out of NAIDOC Week, and the theme for NAIDOC Week this year was very powerful, always will be, and so I just wanted to acknowledge that as well. As I say, the big message, the main message for this presentation and for anyone who's thinking about doing a grants application this year is to go to the Central Goldfields Shire Council website, and if you type into the search box community grants, it will take you to grants webpage on the Shire website, and there's a series of documents. There's some good advice there. There's a series of documents that will help you to make your grant application, and that is the place where you can press the button, apply now, and you can start to fill in the form. If you find that you can't finish it at that time, you can save it and you can come back to the website the next day and you can finish the application at that time. We've tried to make it very, very easy this year. This talk, we're just going to break it down. The first part we'll be talking about what grants are available, and then we'll be talking about who and what's eligible to apply for a grant. And then we'll also talk about how you make that application, and then how we actually, or how you create the application, and then how we submit it. I've said, as I've already said, at the Shire website, there's the most fantastic set of resources. There's a really good way of finding out anything that you need to know related to the council for anything, let alone community grants. But that's where you can find, there are two key documents that you should be aware of. One is called the Community Grants Guidelines. The other one's called the Community Grants Tip Sheet. So the guidelines is like a condensed version of the Shire's policy on grants, and that's what the Shire has, that's a set of rules that the Shire has created about what they will and won't fund in community projects. The tip sheet is something we've put together that gives you some more informal advice on a strategy to make your grant successful, because the last thing we want to do is have people in the community spending a lot of time creating an elaborate application, but then it just doesn't, it's not something that actually works within the parameters of the grants program. If the whole going online and making applications is something that's beyond you or your group, there will be an opportunity. You can download the form, the application form, fill it in manually and deliver it to the council offices in Nolan Street. It might also be useful to download that application form anyway and sit it alongside the guidelines and the tip sheet and the application form, because that gives you a great way of making sure that you've got all of the information that you need for your application before you start trying to do it on the keyboard. It's a very difficult time to start collecting all the information when you're trying to put it into the computer. The grants themselves, the grants are available for amounts above $500. The application program dates, it's already opened, and we'll be accepting applications up until 5 p.m. on December the 16th. We won't be able to take applications after 5 p.m. on the 16th. There's no upper limit. There's $33,500 available this year to distribute to community groups. We anticipate, last year I think there were 10 grants awarded with a total pool of $20,000. This year there's 1.5 times that available. There's no upper limit, but if you apply for a grant for $7,000 or $10,000, it's unlikely that we'll be able to award that grant, because we need to make sure that the grants are being spread evenly across groups right across the Shire. If you've got a $10,000 project, it would be worth having a look at. We might be able to partially fund it. We might be able to fund $2,500 and the group finds $7,500 from elsewhere. Or you may be able to raise funds, or there are other grant possibilities available. I may be able to help you find some grants so that your whole project. So the Shire money means, the Shire $2,500 means that a $10,000 project can go ahead. That's something that works really well in community grants, is to spread the funding around. There's also an opportunity, another really critical thing that I'm going to mention several times is that your project may require permits, it may require permission, it may require support from other organisations. You need to have all of those things in place before you make your grant application. I may be able to help you get permissions and maybe able to help you access the information you need from the council. If there are fees payable, it may be possible for us to get discounts or waive those fees altogether. So again, that's a conversation that you might be able to have with me, and we'll see how we can help with that. Who will be funded? You need to be a community-based, not-for-profit organisation. There is more detail about this in the guidelines, but we've got some examples here. So we've had service clubs applying, we've had community houses applying, we've had sporting clubs, we've had arts organisations applying. These are the sorts of things, sorts of groups that we can fund. It's that sentence, community-based, not-for-profit, and those activities or any funds that are raised in these projects need to be reinvested back into those community events. We can't fund political organisations, obviously. We can't fund profit-making organisations, so we can't help your business. We're not funding businesses in this program. This is community grants. It's very much for community groups. Schools, we don't fund the school building, the school programs, but the parents and friends groups may have programs that they're running, and we may be able to fund the parents and friends group who are running a program that has sort of reach into the community. And the other two government agencies should be getting funded through their own funding streams. There's sort of three branches that we can fund. Physical infrastructure. We've got, for instance, in physical infrastructure, for instance, last year we funded a heat retreat at one of the community houses. We funded a new sit-on mower for one of the sporting clubs. We funded two-way radios for the field naturalists. So this sort of hardware, they can be difficult to fund for a group like the field naturalists, for example. But this is an ideal way to get a few hundreds of dollars or $1,000 to get some equipment that will really help you to run your activities. Community development. The sort of categories are listed there. Last year we funded trophies for a group that was trying to reward aspects of I can't remember what the group was now, but we also funded the Heritage Society, the Historical Society, because they wanted to create a heritage exhibition that they could take around. And we also funded some arts projects in that last bit. There's community arts projects and training for youth programs. That all of these things can be done. We've had some inquiries this year from a group that wanted a traffic management plan for their community event. So it's a piece of paper. It's not sort of something really concrete, but it's actually a thing that's critical to that event going on. And so it looks like that we can help you with the planning. What we can't do is operational costs. The same organisation asked me about insurance for their events, and we specifically can't do those operational costs of your activity. We also can't take an application from an individual. If you are an individual, you've got a great idea for a fantastic project that will benefit the community and the whole Central Goldfields Shire, you need to go and have a talk to your community house, or you need to go and have a talk to your local footy club, or find an organisation that is aligned with the sort of activity that you want to run, and the application will need to come from that community group. We obviously can't fund anything that's already been built. We can't sort of, we can't finish we can't fund the roof of the partially built clubhouse. And we, as a community grant, we can't fund projects supporting religious or political events. So we just need to make sure that everything is thoroughly neutral or benefits the whole community. The application form is online. It's on the website, on the Central Goldfields Shire Council website. You can also download that form from the website, fill it in manually, and bring it into the Shire offices. It's also if you don't have the facilities to download the form and print it, please get in touch with me because I can help you to access the application form if that's necessary. The last bit, it says early. Please don't contact me at 4 o'clock on the 16th of December or submit an application form at 4 o'clock on the 16th of December that's incomplete, because there will not be time for me to help you to get the other information you need, or to fill in the boxes you didn't get around to filling in. Because if you ask me next week, I can help you fill in the whole form, and I will help you find the language. I will help you to reframe your project so that it fits better into the guidelines. We really want to give this money away, and we want to fund your really beautiful projects. It's just I can't do it at 4 o'clock or at 4:30 on Wednesday, the 16th of December. This is the part where I think it's going to be really valuable to download a version of the application form, download the guidelines, download the tip sheet. You need to give us a very brief 1 or 2 sentence summary of the grant. So we want to buy radios for the field naturalists so that we can run our field trips more safely and have better communications. So it's very, very simple explanation of what it is you're trying to do. Then you need to tell us about your group, because we don't know. You must assume that we have no idea what a group of field naturalists does. I'm not picking on the field naturalists. It's just a convenient model. Tell us about your group. You can't assume that we know what why your bowls club, why the Talbot Bowls Club is special. So tell us about your group. We need to know where your project is going to be delivered, and we need to know when it's going to be delivered. So that's fairly obvious. We need a simple explanation of why the project's important. So the radios for the field naturalists are going to make it safer. It's going to allow us to get more people out, more people into the bush, and having a better understanding of the country where we live. How it fits with the Central Goldfields Shire Council plan, again, this is explained in the guidelines. The Shire has a plan for what we are trying to be as a Shire, where we want our Shire to be. If you can make your project line up with the elements of that plan, then it makes it very easy for us to say how perfect this is for us. Budget. The tip sheet has 2 budgets. Here's 2 example budgets for quite different sorts of projects. I've put this one up here. You might not be able to read it. It doesn't really matter. The reason I put this on is this is all we need to be able to consider the budget for your project. A lot of groups get very nervous and anxious when they say, oh, crikey, we need to put together an elaborate, complicated thing. hopefully this budget here will show that it's quite a simple document we need, but there's quite a bit of thought goes into it. This is one that I made up. This is a budget I made up. I think this was the Mount Hawley Cricket and Embroidery Club, and they wanted a barbecue trailer for their embroidery events. So it's hopefully very self-explanatory. The tip sheet will talk you through how to make this budget work. If you glaze over when you are confronted by the thought of making this budget, contact me, ring me up, and I'll help you to explain what all of the different terms mean. Supporting documentation. This one's really important. A number of applications for the grants last year were good applications, but they didn't have the paperwork in order. And so permits are fairly obvious. If you're going to put a new wall along the front of your sporting club, you need to have a permit for it. If you want to build a wall between your sporting club and the fellow who's living in the house next door, you need a letter from the neighbour next door to say he gives you permission for that, and you need a permit for that fence. If your project, if the shade cloth that you want to put over the playground is going to benefit the children who go to the kindergarten, you can get a letter of support from the kindergarten. And if you've got 5 letters of support from other community organisations in your town, that makes it a very strong application, because we can see that lots of people in your region are going to benefit from the project that you're running. Then we also need some quotes. We just need evidence. We don't need 3 identical quotes. We just need evidence that the funding, that the prices they've put on things are reasonable prices, ideally formal quotes. If you are asking for $1,000 and to pay for the materials, you can show that your footy club is going to come along and take those materials and turn it into shade over the barbecue area. Then you can say that the materials are $1,000, but we're going to have 5 bodies working for 2 days, and we can say that labour is worth $30 an hour. You can say that we're giving you $1,000, but the cost of the project is $10,000. And again, that's a very strong example of having a solid quote, having in-kind support from the members of your organisation. When you've collected all of the information, that is when you want to press the button on the submit your application now or make your application now. The top window here, this is the front page of the grants website. Once you've got all of your documents made, you've written ideally you do all of this on a computer so that you can just, when it comes to making your application, you can just cut and paste it from your Word document into the application form. You can see the application form is open in the bottom window there. It's got, if you find you get stuck, you can press the save button. It will close down the application form. It'll allow you to go away and collect that information. Then you can come back, log back into your application and continue from where you went on. So it's also necessary, if you've got quotes, there's a place where you can have all the documentation, the support letters, the quotes, the budget, and all of those things, and you can upload those documents into the application portal. And then when you've got all of that together, you've got all of your documents together, you can press submit application. And quite soon after you do that, I should find out about it, and I can have a look through we'll make sure that everything's in place. If everything looks like it's together, we will send you an email back to say, yes, we've got your application and it all looks complete. If they come in early enough, I will sort of come back to you and say, are you sure you don't need a permit for that project you're doing? Because let's see if we can go and get that. So this is where it's really valuable to move fairly fast and give it, and then we might need a week to sort of get some of those other bits. So let's see if we can help you to do that. Once they're all in, there'll be an assessment team, which is a group of people from our unit in the council, and also people from governance in the council. So we make sure that we're assessing that it works well in the community, and we've also got people who are checking that what we're planning on funding is actually legal within the rules of the council. And so there's a few checks and balances within the council just to make sure that everything we're doing is fair and correct. Once we've made that set of assessments, we'll be creating a list that will hopefully add up to $33,500 or somewhere near it. And then we will make a document which we will present to council. We've got a brand new council that's just been elected. In one of their first meetings where they come together as a new council, we'll be presenting them with a set of recommendations. And then those councillors will look at those recommendations. They are absolutely able at that stage to say, no, we don't support this, or yes, we do. But that council meeting is likely to be in February, early in February. So that's when you'll find out whether your grant's been successful or not. And I think that's pretty much the end of the presentation. That's my email address at the Shire. And my email address is also in the comments of the live stream. So you can get it from the Facebook page. You can write it down. It's james.rigby@seagoldshire.vic.gov.au. And all of that is available also on the web page. So finish the presentation by saying, go to the website, download the documents, download the application form, do the hard work of getting all of those statements, all of that information together, and then submit it, and then hopefully we can help you to put together a successful grant application.
Wow, yeah, take a breath, James. There was a lot of detail in there, and it was a really comprehensive presentation. If for people watching, if there was a lot there, I suppose the biggest thing I took from that whole presentation was, if you have an idea, you're in a community group, speak to James, and speak to James early.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the key thing that I took. If it was me, if I was sitting in a community group, I would be making a note of James' contact details straight off and getting on the phone, because the better that you communicate and work with us on this, the more compelling your application is likely to be. And I guess, just to echo also James' point, that we really want to fund some beautiful projects. So get your thinking hats on, and be in touch. So just for any other clarification, this stream will continue to be available on our Facebook site, and also will be posted on our community grants page. And you'll find the community grants page by just going onto the Central Goldfields website, and just type in community grants into the search function. It will take you right there. I double checked, I just did it just to make sure that's where it takes me. So I know for a fact that's what happened. And there's also all of the information about the council plan and applications, and all of that is on there. So hopefully There's all of the information that you need and the resources you need to put together a really strong and solid application. And the other thing that I wanted to just kind of point out is that community grants is one element of a whole lot of things that council is able to do to support community development across our shire. Community development alongside economic and business growth. So if you are in a business, for example, you're not eligible for community grants, there are other opportunities on the go at the moment in response to COVID that we'll be more than happy to point you in the right direction across council to get you to the right person quickly and make sure that you have the opportunity to take advantage of other state government funding initiatives that we're supporting at the moment. So any bright ideas round about how we continue to further develop and grow both our community and our economy, please get in touch. We're so keen to hear from you and work with you. I feel like these things have a shelf life, don't they? And so if you've stuck right through this, first off, can I say congratulations? Your resilience is astonishing. I'll probably just sign off now. So thanks so much, James, for that input. It's been great. And thanks to everybody that's come along for the ride. And yes, I hope to see you all soon in person. Thanks very much.
I would just say, get in touch. I won't answer my phone on a Thursday. I don't work on a Thursday. But I've already had about 8 groups contacting me. So there's, and we've hopefully given them some good thoughts about how to tweak what they're thinking so that it just nails the right down the middle of the goldfield, the community grants. I really enjoy that part of it, and I really want to talk to you about your projects. I can't talk to you on Thursdays, but any other working day, very happy to talk about what you've got, or email me and we'll help you out.
All right, thanks guys. Thanks, James.
No worries. Goodbye, Facebook.